And these are photographs, for those who might not know. And I come from a printmaking and painting background, so when I started doing photography in 2010, I did not approach it like a photographer in any way, shape, or form. I take images and then I combine images. And I do it in Adobe Photoshop. So I'm trying to create scenarios and narratives that tell you a story. So the title of the pieces are integral in sort of giving you an idea, but I expect you to bring to the piece whatever background, baggage, emotional ties you have to the imagery. And I'm trying to make them as realistic as possible, as if they could actually happen in reality. So if you look at a lot of the pieces, you'll see a lot of symbolism that gets repeated to a certain extent. I've used a lot of water in my past in my paintings that sort of integrates into my photography too. Nests, which I have some sitting outside on the back porch, but walking the dog, I'd always find nests on the street and I'd take them home. If I was painting, I'd paint the nests, but now I photograph the nests and cut them out and put them in the pieces. So for those who know a little bit about Adobe Photoshop, when I say I cut them out, I literally sit there and cut them out, and I cut them out with a mouse because I happen to have worked on computers for a long time. And even though I have pens and a Wacom tablet, I like the mouse better. So I taught online art history for 27 years. So very adept at using a computer. This one's called The Bed. So a lot of the work comes about from what's going on in politics and what's happening personally in my life, not so much now, but in the past. And this one came directly out of the Me Too movement. Now, you bring to it what you want to. Some people bring positive things and some people bring negative things. I'm not going to tell you what my attitude was on it, but so that's the concept behind this piece was. And this one's called Sanctuary. This has a lot to do with climate change and our natural world and what's going on with it. And so we've got the figure, the cloaked figure, who's mysterious, holding a branch, which the branch means transformation, and we have the birds meaning sort of the idea of a message. So hopefully our environment will be preserved and not destroyed in our lifetime, and certainly not for our children's lifetime. This one is Melos Oneros, which is a Greek tale, basically, of how dreams affect you. So we have, again, the bird. There's a lot of birds in my work. Mary Lee and I went to school together. And there's been a lot of birds in my work for a long time. But there's a lot of birds in my work. And the bird always means this messenger, you know, of bringing the message. And so we have a woman with a mask and some horns and another bird on the side and a tunnel leading somewhere. There's almost always a pathway too in my pieces. And that pathway may be with water or just an alleyway or something that's going to lead you down the garden path, you might say. This one's called Dumbfounded. I think we've all been there. You know, that feeling of what is going on, why am I here, and how can I get out of this situation? And you just want to bury your head for a little while. So that was the idea. The bird nests are going up toward the moon, sort of elevating the idea of you do have an escape path. Mary Lee knew exactly where this was. Anybody else know where this is? It's on LSU's campus. It's actually Coates Hall, but so I've reversed it a little bit, and because he's saying I did it in a boat, and the elevated, floating, observing figure with the nest in her hands. And the nest is always that idea of home and your sanctuary and your place that's always going to be your starting point. Hopefully that we can control something by having the nest in our hands. So you'll see that quite a bit too. But again, we have a pathway, the boat as a transformative way of getting to that pathway. But in this case, we've got sand. So it's going to be a slogging trip. It's not going to be the easiest pathway. This one's called Myth. And again, this has to do with, this is something that's been aggravating me for the past 2 years, is the idea that just because you say something does not make it reality at all. And I actually had the superintendent of our school system 6 years ago stand up in front of a bunch of teachers and say that perception is reality. No, perception is not reality. Reality is reality, and facts are reality. So this is all about that concept of perception is reality and how that is a myth. So that's the basis behind that piece, because that seems to be something that permeates our lives on a daily basis these days, is that perception is reality. This one's called With Pen in Hand, and I've written a lot of letters over the past 2 years. Lots of letters. This was about that idea of having a goal and having a sense that my words and my concepts will have some sort of a change on the people that might have power. And it might be frivolous. But, so again, we have a pathway, we have a boat, we have water, we have a floating figure with a quill in her hand, and the idea of the feather as being a message, a transcendence, hopefully that her message is going to get through to people. This one is called flight risk. Now, I don't know if you see it in here. Anybody see some little symbol that's in the ground? So it's the United States and the pathway. And this one is about immigration. So I'm not going to say how my opinions on it, but you can bring to it what you will. This one is called Subjective World, and again, it's that sort of idea of things are just coming down on your head too much. You've had enough. You can't take any more, and you need to find that quiet place to contemplate, how things are making you feel. This one's inescapable. This is actually a crypt in the Baton Cemetery, Lake Lawn Cemetery. And I did this piece when all the fires were going on in California. And 113 people died in this fire, something like that. So again, it's sort of an environmental piece. And we have the fires in the background writing. And hopefully this person who sort of represents Mother Nature with the light of truth and the idea that hopefully she will be able to change things so that that fire is not going to destroy everything in our world. This one is called Chasm. And again, see birds and water, all the typical things I tend to put in my work. We have a sort of a maze in the sky. And this is about reflecting on yourself and the path that you take. And will you take the right path, or will you fall into the chasm? Will you make the right choices in your life? Will you do the right things? The idea of the right thing is becoming more and more important to me on a daily basis. This one's uneven ground, and we have a bed, and it's behind mosquito netting. There's a nest with a tiny little bird in it. And flowers, which represent that idea of love and life, and they're falling, and she's bouncing, and life throws lots of little things at you. How are you going to react to them? Are you going to bounce on the bed and enjoy yourself and not worry about them? Or are you going to do the right thing? This one is heritage, and this again is that idea of making choices. Are you going to be the person? The cards in your hands are almost like history and future. Okay, what's happening? In the future. What places am I going to go? What things am I going to do? What am I going to be able to control? And this one doesn't have as much of a message in it as what you bring to it. But that's the concept behind it. And then I just finished this one right before I hung my show. So it's called Domestication, and it's sort of a play on words. This is actually the Butler's Pantry in the Massey Museum of Art. I have a piece up there, and I just walked in to drop the piece off, and they had this little Butler's Pantry where the bathroom was, and I went, I gotta go get my camera and take a picture of it. And so, again, this has to do with animals being domesticated, people being domesticated, and the whole concept of how we work with nature. There's a lot of concept in the work that has to do with man's relationship to nature. And how do we control nature? How do we add to nature? How do we protect nature? And how do we not destroy nature? So that idea of, nurture and not cause decay.